Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Darrell Owens, back again for another episode of One on One, episode 212 of One on One. And we've got 3 episodes left here in our interview portion for season 7. And today, I, I know I've said this before, but it's always something, different when I have people on. So I'm very excited every time I have somebody on because these people, the people I bring in mean something to me. And this one is huge for me because I feel like, and he'll probably deny it, but that's fine. When I started my career, he's a huge part of where I am today. And if it wasn't for him, I feel like I wouldn't be where I am. He'll probably say, no, don't worry about it. But I'm telling you right now, he has been influential in so many ways. He's been an inspiration. And I'm super duper excited to have with me today, ladies and gentlemen, Tony Wyllie, former NFL PR executive. He used to manage a part of the Special Olympics. He was a big part of managing part of that. And then, of course, he is the CEO of the collective. So we're very excited of the collective engine. So excited to have Tony on. So once again, everybody, episode 212 of 101 is about to begin now here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. And of course, airing on the amazing Bowie TV. The amazing Tony Wyllie is here with us now. Let's get it started.
One. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to one-on-one at Legacy Maker Sports Network.
Here we are, episode 212, or one-on-one here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. I am super duper excited today. If you didn't hear before when I was doing the introduction, but we got my man, I call him, like I said, super inspiration for me. Mr. Tony Wyllie is here with us today. Tony, how's it going, brother? How's everything going?
It's going well, but hold up, man. Who did that theme song? That theme song just got me hyped. Oh my gosh.
So it's so funny, man. And I love when I get that. So my cousin is a hip hop artist. It was local to Virginia, but I mean, he's been on the BET Awards. He's done a lot of great stuff now. He's with Empire Records. This and one of his songs is going to be on the new GTA. So for those out there wondering, like, man, he has been killing it for especially the last 5 or 6 years. He does some movies on Tubi, all that stuff like that. I'm so proud of him. He's going to be our season finale this year. So I can give him some love and some flowers for all that he's done for myself. But yeah, that's my cousin, Mark Butler, aka Chosen, doing the.
Tell him that set the tone. Tell him that totally sets the tone.
I would definitely tell him.
That got me hyped.
I would definitely tell him. It's so funny, man. I love when I hear that because, like I said, I said, look, my cousin, I need this. I need a theme song for my show. I said, I don't know if you got time, but if you can, he said, oh, I got you. And so, we grew up together where, like, I used to go over his house and I saw the drive and the vision of him, like, wanting to become a hip hop artist and what he wanted. I seen it. So seeing it coming to fruition now is like, yeah, this is great. Because everything's starting to really pick up for him. So yeah, that's my guy. That's my guy.
Look at theme songs throughout history. I mean, the Dukes of Hazzard, the Jeffersons, Good Times. I mean, people know them. Happy Days. People know them theme songs.
Yes, that's the thing. You gotta have something that people say, oh yeah, that's all right. So I love when I have a guest say, yeah, that's the one. I'm like, so yeah, I don't think I'll ever change it. I love it the way it is. So. But with that being said, we got to get into talking about Tony Wyllie today. And the way we start every episode off is with the check-in. All right, Tony. So with the check-in, we want to check in on you, your family, your friends. How is life right now for Tony Wyllie?
Life is great, man. I mean, I'm very blessed. I mean, my right here being in Virginia, my family is awesome. I'm blessed. I have my mom and dad. My dad's 87. My mom's 82.
Awesome.
And they get up and they work out 5 days a week. I'm like, man, they inspire me. I'm sitting back like, I'm sitting around not doing anything. And at their age, they're getting up. So they inspired me to really try to get in shape. My wife is awesome. She's my rock. We've been married now for 21, just finished 21 years. And my son's at second year at Morehouse.
Awesome.
He's doing well. He's a baseball player there, computer science major, has a 4.0. And my daughter just entered her senior year, and she's going to be joining my son in Atlanta by attending Spelman. So my household's going to be all black college. You know, my wife's from Xavier, and I'm Texas Southern, of course.
Mm-hmm.
My son and daughter is Morehouse and Spelman. So the whole Wyllie household will be HBCU grads.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, brother. Like I tried, but it didn't go in my favor. My oldest is a junior at Randolph College down in Lynchburg, and then my youngest is going. We just dropped her off a couple of days ago to Mary Washington in Fredericksburg. So they both want to be child psychologists. I'm like, you go do what you got to do. So they're doing that. Still got my son. He's 11 now, so we got a little time on him. You know, he's just entering middle school, and then me and my wife are celebrating 20 years this past March. So. Yeah, we're on your heels, brother. We're on your heels. We're not quite there, but we're on your heels. But it's so good to hear that everybody is doing well, my friend. So let's kind of get into a couple of things. Now, obviously, you have an extensive sports background, but I want to know, Tony, where did your passion of sports come from? When you were 7, 8, 9 years old, where did that passion of sports come from? Who gave you that passion of sports? Just give us a look inside of where you get that passion from.
I'm a Brooklyn native. And I'm really, really close to my two older cousins. They're around the same age. And unfortunately, my older cousin just passed. But they're I would always be around them. And one day they just taught me baseball. I mean, we had like a little something. They just taught me baseball. And from that day forward, I started loving sports. I mean, being in New York, I was a big, huge Yankee fan. The Yankees won a pennant, then got swept by the A's. That's 1976. And 77, they got Reggie Jackson, and they won the World Series. And that was it was just something about how sports just brought the whole town together. I mean, everyone just loved the team and supported the team. And then I moved to Houston. I moved to Houston in 79, and that's right when the Love You Blue era started with Earl Campbell, who I'm a friend of mine right now, but I just saw how, you know, football is like a religion in Texas, and it just so happened I just love sports. I remember my dad bought me a Sports Illustrated subscription, and it was done. I mean, I that and collecting baseball cards, I just love sports too. But I also looked up to my cousin. I looked up to my older cousin. He was a pre-med major. So I decided to be just like him, and I majored in pre-med. And after his first year in med school, he came and visited me, and he was telling me what he was doing. And I was like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this. And we were looking at ESPN, and he goes, that's what you need to be doing. I was like, what are you talking about? He said, you need to be working in sports. I've known you your entire life. You need to be working in sports. And just by chance, this is why God, the next day I read an article in a Black Collegian magazine that was talking about sports management. And I remember the title was, you can turn your love for sports into a career that you love. And I knew right then it was talking to me. And they were talking about how people, you know, they were talking about Al Campanis when he made that comment in 1987. And they're basically saying how, you know, this is a field you may not know about, and this is a chance to really right a wrong, but you're going to take some work, and there's a lot of people want to do it. So I ended up going over to Rice, and they had a sport. That was the closest school that had a sports management program to me. And the guy went to UMass, and he was telling me, hey, this is a field you might want to go into, but I think he said we take 20 students every year. And I was like, well, how many applicants do you get? He goes, oh, we get thousands.
Thousands.
He said something that stuck with me. He said, you can apply, but you got to bring something to the table. I said, huh? He goes, yeah, it's very, very competitive. So the very next day, I went to the sports information office and just went in there and I said, hey, I'm here to work. I want to work in sports management. I'm here to volunteer. I'm going to do whatever. and like we had a guy on the football team named Michael Strahan,
Oh,
and our basketball team ended up going to the tournament. So it was a great time to be at Texas Southern. So I started working, and then I started networking. And lo and behold, being in a big place like Houston really helped out because I met the Astros first. I started working with the Astros. And then I sat down and I said, I want to do, so then my first class I took in journalism, the professor said, you got to pick somebody you want to be like and interview them. And I ended up picking Bob Watson. Bob Watson was the only black general manager in all of baseball.
oh,
And
wow.
he worked right there for my hometown team, the Houston Astros. So one thing about me, I was never afraid to pick up the phone and call people, never afraid to network with somebody. And I called his office. He was in the middle of spring training, and he called me back. Not only did he call me back, but he spent 3 hours on the phone with me, explaining the whole front office structure. And the last thing he said to me was, if you want to do this, you can do it, but it's going to take some hard work. And that ignited the flame. And it motivated me it ignited a flame in my belly that, okay, I'm going to go for this. And I started working in sports information. And then I got one of these Sports Illustrated almanacs because I was like, I want to work in the pros. And I sent out not 100, not 200, not 300. I sent out 400 resumes.
Wow.
And my thinking at the time was, the more darts you throw at a target, better your odds of hitting it. And I ended up going to Temple. I went to Temple. I remember I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi, and I remember the dean of the sports management program at Temple was at Kappa. He said, I want you to come out here and let's visit the campus. And maybe you can come out here because they have a grad program at Temple for sports management. So I said, okay. Well, it just so happened I did not email. This was before email. I remember I sent the resume to all these basketball teams and football teams, and the New Jersey Nets wrote me back and said, we have an unpaid internship available, but come out here during the Christmas break and let's do an interview. So, I still had family in Brooklyn. I remember the plan was I was going to drive my 1980 Toyota Corolla and then interview. So I ended up, they were called, the Nets were playing in Brendan Byrne Arena during that time. And I remember I went to the interview. I brought my little TSU Herald, the TSU school paper clips. And I remember I was so intimidated. I remember walking into the arena. I'm like, holy cow, and I was so, I know I bombed an interview. And then I ended up going down the turnpike to Philadelphia. And we had John Chaney. John Chaney was the coach, basketball coach.
Legend. John Chaney.
I remember they were like, hey, I remember the dance program was like next door to sports management. So these little co-eds with leotards stretching and dancing and you're getting ready. Hey, you want to go? Here's my number. I'll show you around. I'm like, okay, I'm going to Temple. So during the semester, scouts were coming in to of course get information on Strahan. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of talented guys on the team, and as guys came in, I would ask them, hey, what advice do you have? I want to work in pro sports. And I remember I ended up meeting the Oilers PR director, so I started working game days for the Oilers. I was working with the Astros. I was writing for the Houston Chronicle and the Houston Post. So I remember the scout from the Giants, ironically, the team that drafted Michael, the guy said, you're already in the mix. He goes, you can have a PhD, because my plan was to go on and go to Temple, get my
right.
He goes, you can have a PhD. If you don't know anybody, you ain't getting in. You already have an in with the Oilers. I'll stick with that, because you got to understand one thing, D. I was never afraid to ask people advice. Bill White from the MLB came to Houston. I read in the paper he was supposed to pick up an award So I ended up calling the hotel and called his room, and he invited me to come over to sit and have advice, get advice from him. So I was really that determined to get my foot in the door. So I ended up sending out all the resumes the next time, and I got a letter back from the San Diego Chargers. See, that's how old it is. San Diego Chargers.
San Diego, man. I still call them the San Diego Chargers, so don't feel bad.
I got a letter from the San Diego Chargers, and it had like 5 lines. We do provide room and board and a place, and a stipend. But the last sentence killed me. It said, applicant is responsible for own transportation. Now, I was waiting tables. I was really tough, working through school. I couldn't afford a plane ticket.
Right.
So this is why I love my school. The dean of the communications department stopped me in the hallway and said, hey, come see me after you're done with class today. So I went in his office. I'm thinking I'm in trouble. I went in his office, and he reached down in his drawer and pulled out a Delta's airline round trip ticket to San Diego.
Oh man, that's awesome.
And said, I heard you're trying to go to San Diego. He said, you worked hard to get this opportunity. He said, you get out there and you represent this school.
Awesome.
And so I went to the placement office now, because I bombed this at the Philadelphia, New Jersey Nets. I was like, I have another opportunity. I can't bomb this time. So I went to the placement office. Dr. Jones explained what happened. I said, now I'm a chance to go interview with San Diego. He said, follow me. He took me in his car to the Galleria and bought out of his own money, bought me a suit. And then he said, I want you to meet me the next 3 days. We're going to prepare for your interview. So I learned then, he said, hey, make sure you find out who they're going to, how many people they're hiring and how many people they're interviewing, and find out when they're going to make a decision. And I remember Bill Johnson, who was the Chargers PR director. I remember I asked him, I said, how many people? I found out I was the only one that wasn't from California. And then I remember he looked down at my resume and he goes, I'll let you know something about another month or so. Then he looked up at the calendar and he looked at my information. And I remember he rubbed his chin and he said, I'll let you know something next week. So then he said, do you have any other questions? I said, yeah. I said, because when I walked in, they had all these girls with bikinis walking around the place. I said, I know this is my first time in California, but is it like this all the time? And he laughed. He goes, nah, those are the cheerleaders. We're shooting our calendar today.
That's so funny.
I always tell students internships do 2 things. They tell you what you want to do, and they tell you what you don't want to do. And after that summer, this was 92, they had the Olympics. So I got to work with the Astros the first part of the summer. And then when the Astros went on the road, because the Republican convention was in Houston, I had a chance to go to La Jolla, California to work with the Chargers. And they had Junior Seau, they had Rod Bernstein, had all these guys, and it showed me that I really wanted to do this. And I remember I was working in sports information, and I remember the Chargers came back to Houston to play the Oilers, and I remember Rob Bower, who's a mentor of mine, he's a great friend of mine. He was the assistant PR director, African American guy from Penn State, and I remember the Chargers came back to the Astrodome to play the Oilers, but I couldn't see them the night before because I was in Ohio with the Texas Southern team. We played Central State. We played Hugh Douglas and Central State, those guys, and we beat them. Remember, we beat them. We beat them in Columbus, Ohio. And the Chronicle gave me like 30 inches in the top fold, as you know, they don't do that for part-time reporters.
Right.
So Rob introduced me to the person. They invited me to Atlanta to go to the PR meetings. And that was the biggest break because I got to go there right before graduation, and all the NFL teams were there. And the great thing, D, 6 teams ended up calling me at the end of that convention. I remember, and I said, let me just pick which one I want to go to now. I remember one of them was the Giants, and the Giants said, hey, we just drafted Strahan. We want you and him to be package deals. So you can go to the Giants. And one of them was the Cowboys. And I've got all the other teams, but the Cowboys flew me up to Dallas to interview. And I remember he sat me down, and I'm thinking, you got to understand, Houston and Dallas are like Hatfield and McCoys. I'm a Houston guy. I was already working with the Oilers. I'm like, I don't know about this Dallas stuff. But the Cowboys were world champions. And I remember it's really hard to get your foot in the door. They had an internship available, and I remember Rich Dalrymple, who interviewed me. He sat me down. He goes, "You're a Texas guy." He goes, "We never had anyone from Texas." And then he says something that really put me over the edge. He goes, "If we win the Super Bowl, you'll even get a ring." So I remember I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute here." So I remember I was like, you know what? This might be a good opportunity.
It might be worth it.
So ended up going to Dallas. No team was covered more than the Cowboys during that time. We ended up going 0-2, and then Emmett held out, and then Emmett came in. Then we got on a roll, and then we ended up going to Atlanta. Atlanta's been a big part in my life. Atlanta, we played the Super Bowl, played the Bills. We ended up winning. Then I ended up going to the Rams in LA. Then I ended up moving to St. Louis. I met my wife in St. Louis the first Rams game. I met her in the elevator. And then I ended up going to Nashville to be back with the Oilers. I was the youngest PR director. And then I ended up starting up the Houston Texans. Then I ended up coming here to DC. So it's been a great ride. But one thing I'm really proud of are all the different kids that worked under me that mentored. I mean, I promised Rob Bower, he goes, when you get in, you got to reach back and help someone the same way I'm helping you. And I kept that promise. And that's something I'm really proud of.
Yep, you sure did, my friend. you sure did, my friend. So, like I said, I'll always be forever appreciative on my end. But it's just so good to see good people out there. I knew, and when I first started, I didn't know how. I felt like it was gonna be more of a gatekeeping type of situation where it was a lot of people that didn't want, because it's just so many limited spots, and so many people just don't want to give up their spot. But and I get it. You're there, you want to stay there. So it was nice. To be able to get those opportunities. So I know from my end, so like I said, I always will be forever grateful. Before we get into our next topic, talk a little bit about the Collective Engine. I know, the CEO of that, and can you kind of give us an insight for those who may not know out there?
Yeah, I mean, heck, let me go back even further. 1995, I'm in LA with the Rams. And the UCLA Bruins won the national title with Charles O'Bannon, Ed O'Bannon.
Oh, man. The toss back.
Right afterwards, Ed O'Bannon, I think, filed a lawsuit about his name, image, and likeness. I think he went to the bookstore and saw his jersey, and people were buying his jersey, and he had his name, image, and likeness, and he wasn't getting any money of it. So he filed a lawsuit. That was 1995. So then it kept going. It came all the way up to the Supreme Court. And I think I remember it was the Supreme Court hearing was here. I was working here with the Redskins all these years. And then it fell in favor of the players. And I remember when I was with the Texans, Bob McNair sent me to Rice Business School to get my MBA. And at some point, I knew I wanted to have my own business. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened, since it was right here with DC, all of a sudden people were calling me who had kids who were athletes or like, hey, why don't you look into this? Then I had an idea. You know what? I have a network. Let me start trying to help these athletes and give them some guidance in regards to name, image, and likeness. And with next thing you know, I ended up having like 100 clients in like 10 different sports, both male and female. And because of my background, I was able to advise them about, their image and their brands. And it really turned into, something that was really enjoyable. And the fact that, kids, they really needed the help. And that's what happened. It's very fulfilling.
That's awesome. I mean, and especially in today's climate, I feel like there's definitely something that is definitely needed. With so many changes that we've seen in the NCAA and so on and so on. So it's a really good idea, my friend. Really good idea. Really good business idea. Before we get into quick ones, the NFL, obviously close to your heart. What is your outlook on this season? Like, who are you excited to see, play this year? Like, is there anybody that you're just excited to see? What's your outlook on the league this year?
You know what? It's funny because like even my kids, they ask, well, who do you root for? I root for all the teams I work with. I worked for all of them. So I mean, the Texans. We started, of course, the Commanders. I know, and I have friends there. I know people there. I remember was a couple of Super Bowls ago. I think it was when it was in New Orleans. I walked around. I was taking one of my guys around Radio Row, and I ran into Jaden Daniels and his mom. And I remember showing him, hey, I used to work for the team, but I wish you luck. I'm still, I told him I'm still in Washington Command. I told him I'm still a Redskin, and he started. It was great. It was great meeting him.
I used to be loyal to the paycheck. I grew up for the first team I followed was the Jets, back with Freeman McNeil and those guys in the early '80s. And it's funny because I got to work with Pat Ryan. He did our radio when I was with the Titans, and I remember him being a Jet. But I do remember when our first game with the Oilers, we played the Jets, and Wesley Walker was doing the radio, and he came up to me and asked for the radio booth. And that's when the whole football fan of me came out. I said, Wesley, you don't understand. You're my guy. You're my guy growing up. I was a big Jets fan. You're my favorite. And that was pretty cool getting a chance to really sit and talk with Wesley Walker. But anyway, as far as this season goes, I'm excited about the Texans and their defense. I'm loyal to all the teams I work with because I usually know somebody in the organization or I just really root for them. So, of course, the Commanders, it's kind of hard saying Commanders because I really was never a Commander, but you got to go with the flow. So
Right.
between the Rams, the Cowboys, it's funny because Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, they used to always tease me whenever we played each other. I think one game I had a Redskins tie on, and I remember Jerry said, "What are you doing? You know you're a Cowboy. You have a Super Bowl ring from the Cowboys. What are you doing with these guys?" So it's pretty cool that I had a long career and I worked with many franchises. So I just like to see a good game and I guess I look at it differently than what a normal fan was because I was so involved with it.
That's awesome. I mean, and they see it, Jerry, a little poke from Jerry there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. It was really wild when I was in the AFC South because it would go back to play Tennessee, and that was my former team as well. But it's been pretty cool. But I mean, I root for like one year. I think when the Niners played the Rams, both the PR guys were my proteges. So I root for organizations where I know people and I know people. So it's not just the teams. I just want to see a good entertaining football.
That's all you can ask for. That's all you can ask for. All right, everybody. Now we're gonna head to one of my favorite segments. It's time for the Tony Wyllie edition of Quick Ones.
Okay.
All right, Tony. Quick one. So the way quick ones work, I'm gonna ask you a question. Now it's quick, but you don't have to give me one word answers. I like the people to elaborate a little bit on what the quick one is. Kind of give us a little bit of a story there. So ready for your edition of quick ones?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so here we go. So the first one, your favorite sports moment.
Wow, it's hard to do one. It's hard to do one. The Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl with the Cowboys, um, the first Houston Texans game, first ever Houston Texans game was big, and I gotta say, RG3, RG3's first game with the Saints when he threw a when we upset the Saints in New Orleans. That was big. But also Thanksgiving Day in Dallas, RG3's rookie year. I think I had like 400 people. I had 400 people come up from Houston for
Mm,
that game, and that was a good memory. That was a memory as well. So it's hard to do just one,
it's
man.
hard. I know it's a little tough, but I'll take a couple. I'll take a couple in there. All right, now this one may be a little bit easier, but what are your worst sports moments?
Oh, come on. Losing by 1 yard.
Oh yeah, that's a tough one.
Losing the Super Bowl by 1 yard to my former team. I'm still not over that. But I ended up after that game, I went to the locker room and I hugged Isaac Bruce. I remember I'm in the locker room and I heard the whole place going crazy. In the fourth quarter, after we tied, I went down to the locker room, put my stuff in the locker room, and I heard the place go nuts. And they had two guys from ABC way across in the locker room watching the game on a small TV. And I said, "What happened? Did the Rams just score?" They said, "Yes." And I said, "Let me guess, Isaac Bruce." And they said, "How'd you know?" I said, "I know." But after that game, I went to the locker room. I gave Isaac a hug, and I told him I loved him, and I told him I was very proud of him. In fact, I remember walking out, going back to our locker room. Mike Jones was doing a press conference, and he saw me, and he stopped what he was saying, and he said hello to me. Mike was my neighbor in St. Louis, so it was wild that my neighbor ended up preventing me from getting a big ring. But that's probably the worst one. Definitely the worst one.
It's like a sweet and sour type of thing. It's like, I'm happy for you, but man, I mean, so funny story about that. That Super Bowl is the only Super Bowl that I never got a chance to watch on TV. We had a snowstorm in our area, and so we had to listen to it on the radio.
Oh wow!
And it was the most exciting game. I remember watching it, listening to it as a kid, and it's so funny. I never watched the game. I've seen the play at the end, but actually watching the whole game, I've never watched the whole game. But I remember listening to it with my friend. We sat there in the dark, super snowstorm outside, listening to that Super Bowl. And the way the announcers made it sound, we thought that the Titans had won the Super Bowl. You know, I was a big Steve McNair guy, big Steve McNair guy. So I was so hyped. And then it was like, oh my God, they scored. No, they didn't. Oh, what happened? The Rams won the Super Bowl. I said, oh my goodness. So it was tough for me.
Well, the crazy thing was, I don't know if you really understand. Nashville gave us a ticker tape parade, even though we lost. The city was so behind us. I remember riding at that Super Bowl thinking, man, this is amazing. The whole town came out, and
right.
even though we lost, but they still treated us like we won because they were so proud.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm just kind of glad that it, like I said, I was a little hurt because I just wanted McNair to win it so bad, but it's all good. It's all good. Next one, sport that you secretly love.
I'll probably say hockey. I'll say hockey. My first hockey game was in Nashville with the Predators, and going to a game is much better than watching it on TV. I mean,
yeah,
it's like night and day. So then, when I moved here, I was going to some Capital games. I got to know OV, and I got to know what happened was during the lockout, me and the staff went around we went to Georgetown, we went to Howard, we went to the Caps, we went to the Net. We got to know all the different teams. It gave us a chance to really get to know all the different PR people.
Right.
And we got to know the Caps guys. In fact, one of the games I would invite all the PR people from all the different teams. And it started with the Caps. And it's wild because my kids, as little kids, we would take them to the Caps games, and even up to now, they're Caps fans. So I would say hockey.
Hockey's a good one. Hockey's a really, really good one. I would probably say that'd be mine too. I'm a big Avalanche fan, so got to see my first hockey game this past year, back in March. It was amazing. So finally. All right. So the next one I have for you, and I always call it one of the fun ones, but if you could put on a comedy show, okay? You get to pick 4 comedians to be on the show. Who are you picking to be on the show? Who's going to be opening it up for you? And who's going to be your headliner out of the 4 comedians?
All right, well, you got to understand, when I lived in LA, I got to know a lot of comedians. In fact, one of my close friends is a comedian, Guy Torrey. Guy Torrey and I like this. He's from St. Louis, and he's a real dude. In fact, I was in his wedding, and he was in my wedding. And that's how we're really, really good friends. So one of them it has to be Guy. Ain't no question, without question. It has to be Guy. I'll have to get Eddie Murphy. I mean, that was one of my favorites growing up. I got to get Eddie. I'll get I think I'll say Cat Williams. I'll say Cat. Dave Chappelle. I got to meet Dave. Dave's a good guy. Gary Owens, another friend of mine. I'll say Earthquake. And I have to get a female. I'll probably say Cheryl Underwood. That's my wife's favorite, but I think Cheryl Underwood.
Cheryl's good. Cheryl's a good one. Cheryl's underrated, I think. I think people don't, they see her on all the other shows, but people don't really know. Like for me, I used to watch Comic View back in the day, and she was so funny on Comic View.
Absolutely. But knowing them as friends, some of them I know as friends, and some of them really close friends, you get to know who they are, and it's wild because the ones that I know really, really well, they're cool having one-on-one relationships. But the minute somebody else comes in, then they're on stage. I mean, what I'm saying is you have to get them alone to be their true self. Because once they have an audience, then it's on.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. So that was the Tony Wyllie edition of Quick Ones. And of course, we're going to finish this up the right way, ladies and gentlemen, with Leave Your Legacy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, look, we want to thank Tony Wyllie for coming on and joining us for this amazing episode, getting a chance to know him, getting a chance to know just a little bit more about the amazing man that is Tony Wyllie. Now, Tony, before we leave, we always like to ask out, as I like to call, the legacy question. So, if you get in, when it's all said and done, you can sit back, relax, and retire from all of it, and just sip on a pina colada or whatever your drink of choice is. What do you want people to say about you?
I think that I helped open doors. I promised Rob Bower as a young man that for him helping me, he said, "Hey, I want you to promise to reach back and help others." And I kept that promise to the point where I think to date, I probably helped about close to 300 people get in their foot in the door and help them. And I think that's my legacy. That as well as my children. I think the fact, I look at my children and what they're doing and how I open doors, and I taught them to network and really treat people right. And you get things could come back on you. And my son's, he's at Morehouse. He's on his way. He just interned for Dave Stewart, the Black billionaire, this past summer, and he's an athlete playing baseball. And my daughter is a A+ student in her senior, and she's going to go next door to Spelman. So that's my legacy, my children, but also the people who I tease my interns, and I tell them, y'all got to take care of me when I get old because I'm treating y'all like my children. So I think the people who I think I reached back and helped get into the door and help mentor, that's my legacy. That I never not liked my job. I loved my job. I loved what I did, and I think it reflected on how I treated people and how I performed. So I think that's my legacy, God willing.
I love it. Absolutely love it, Tony. And like I said, I can go on and on and on and on about all the things I feel like you've done for me. I can go on and on, and I won't because I've said it multiple times. But I appreciate you, brother. I've always have, always will.
I also want to say the fact that Isaac Bruce picked me to present him at the Hall of Fame was a huge honor. I mean, so between not only the coaches and owners and staff members and media, but also players, guys like Eddie George, who I see him as a coach right now, and Eddie Robinson and things like that. I think that's my legacy.
There it is. There it is right there. I mean, it's the proof is in the pudding. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been an amazing episode. Before we jump in or finish this off, I want to at least make sure that I let you know who we have coming on next week for our show. My friend, Miss Rose Johnson, the host of the Spotlight DMV, who does everything in the DMV area, just running around, getting all of the great insights and news. She does a lot of great work here on Bowie Television. So she'll be my guest next week for episode 213. So can't wait to have Rose on for that episode. But once again, I want to I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. Thank you so much for coming on today. Tony, and gracing us with your presence, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, that's it. Episode 212 is in the books. Make sure y'all go check out my man Tony Wyllie on all the social media platforms. I know he's out there somewhere. But make sure you check out the Collective Engine and all the great things he's doing there. And just if you get a chance to just really research the great man that is Tony Wyllie. And outside of this, make sure you go and do that. Once again, I'm Darrell Owens. That's the man, the myth, the legend, Tony Wyllie. We will see you all next time.
One. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the